Hello everyone. I'm out here. It's a very sunny, nice day. Around me is just nature. I want to talk about like a little bit about like the birth rate decline of South Korea. It's a big trend in the whole globe. Like even the countries that are believed to have beautiful country system, and like some countries like Finland have a very nice childcare system, and northern European countries, those countries were believed to have like a nice system that people will have no trouble deciding to have a baby or like start a family. But still, like even Finland's birth rate was going down. So it's like weird because almost every country is starting to have a decline. But well, let's just focus on South Korea because like we all know the whole world's birth rate is declining. So let's like focus on South Korea because I am here. This is South Korea, by the way. Some Koreans riding on their bike. It's like, I'm actually here. Anyways, it's good to be in South Korea when we talk about the low birth rate, because this is like the lowest birth rate in the whole history of Earth. We're at currently about 0.72 or something. Let me tell you my thoughts on why that's happening. I think so TLDR, I think it's because we are trying to make a perfect child. Like, you know this term called helicopter moms, where they pick up their child and they quickly go to the next academy, or it could be, we call it hagwon in Korea. But what they do is they pick up their kid. Let's say he's David. Like, David hops on the car and David goes to like this swimming class, and then he learns swimming, comes out after like an hour, and mom's waiting with her car, and she's like, come on David, no time to waste. And then they go to let's say like a reading, some sort of an academy that they learn. It's not public education, it's going to be private education. So that means they are paying another people to teach their child, not like the public system. They do all that, but why? Well, but there are a few reasons. One of the reasons is maybe the child actually wants to learn swimming. So David would be like, Mom, can I learn swimming? I like swimming. Well, then the nice mom would be like, okay, well, sure, you can try learning swimming. So that's like case one. Number two is David doesn't want to swim, but the mom was like, David, if you want to be a beautiful man in the future with a nice body, and if you want to be praised by other people, you have to learn at least one one athletic thing, and let's go swim. David doesn't want to learn math, but maybe the mom was like, David, if you want to get a good SAT score, you have to learn math. Like, it could be something like that. It could be the mom trying to make David a perfect child. Now, this reminds me of playing The Sims, because when you play Sims, some people, like at least me, when I play Sims, I always make my sim like the perfect one. like like never get fat, always has a treadmill or some sort of a working out machine in the room, always have like cooking 10, charisma 10. Like, my sim would be talking with a mirror all day long, and the next day reading about cooking all day long. You know what I mean? Like, there's this some sort of urge or like a tendency that I want to make my sim perfect. But should we do that to our child too? Or should we have a mindset of, when I have a child, I'm gonna make my child perfect? It sounds good, right? But is it? And I don't think so. Because if my sim doesn't have an ego, but if it did, what if my sim says, hey Sonu, I know you want me to live a good life, but I don't want to work out, I don't want to read this cooking book, can I just order pizza? Then if the sim starts to talk to you and say that, can you actually say, okay, then you can do whatever you want, let's go to party? What I want to say is, if the child actually likes studying and if the child actually wants to do all those stuff, then that's perfect, nothing wrong here. But if it's if the child like doesn't really said anything about, hey, I like this or I want to do this, but if the parent like pushed or pressured the child to do this, like learn this, learn that and everything, and the child is like, okay, maybe I should do this because mom and dad says I should do it, so they're like learning something without knowing why they're doing it, and that becomes a stress, because that becomes mental stress, because burnout or all these mental depressions happen when you're doing something that you don't know why you're doing. They think they have to do at least that much investment to their child to become a good parent, I guess, or maybe to present their child a good life. But in my perspective, I think that's actually the worst thing you can do to a child. If the child actually likes to learn math and actually likes to learn swimming, that's a good thing to do as a parent, but not asking what the child wants, but just pressuring them to do this and that sounds a bit like Sims, and I don't think that's a good way to raise a child. So I want to talk about this really toxic trait in Korea. It's called 평균 올려치기. In English, it means inflated average. South Korean male has an average height of 174.4 centimeters. So that means most of the majority are 174.4 centimeters, and some are shorter, some are taller. So that's the meaning of average. We all know that, right? But when we go to like Seoul or like a club or like a place where there's like a lot of people, they always say, oh, I think to become like average in Korea you have to be at least 178. But in reality 178 is actually higher than average, but they think their average mind, average like feeling is skewed. They feel 176 or 177.8 is average. That's inflated average. It's very prevalent in South Korea, and it applies to a lot of categories. For example, there's also this term called 국평5. It's like a short term of 국민 평균 5등급. It means there's this grade system. 등급, it means like a grade system where grade 1 is the best and grade 9 is the worst. So basically that means grade 5 is in the middle. It's like the average score. And when some person writes a comment or starts to debate about something, but when they seem to be off topic or when they seem to look dumb a little bit, they write down 국평5, which means 국민 평균 5등급, which means the national average is grade 5. It's saying that grade 5 is a low score, saying most majority of people are dumb, saying since the average score is grade 5, and in their mindset grade 5 feels very low, they are saying that this commenter is dumb. But in reality, if that person actually got like a grade 5, then that means that person is an average. Isn't that so? It means most of the Koreans have like a mindset that the average score is a low score. I mean, then who gets the average? Like, what is the real average? Like, they think at least you have to get a grade 3, and grade 3 is like top 17%. So Koreans think you have to be at least top maybe 20% to become the ideal average. So what does that mean? All the lower 80% will feel like, oh, I'm not enough. This is so prevalent in South Korea. Height, grade, money, like how much money you make. So because of this skewed, like inflated average mindset, most people feel inadequate. Most people feel they are not good enough. So because of this inflated average mindset, most people have a low self-esteem. I want to finish this video by talking about Zhang. In Korean we call it 장자. His philosophy is about human dignity. And he said human dignity comes from when we love stuff that is useless. And that could be, for example, loving, our dog, loving walking around the park. I mean, walking around the park doesn't make you any money, or doesn't make you go up on the history book, right? It's just walking around the park because I love to do it. Zhang said, what makes us human is doing what you love that is useless. What Zhang really wanted to say was, if you treat everything in life as something that you have to be useful and make money, for example, walking around the park. Before connecting that idea with making money, you're like, oh, I'm so comfortable walking around the park. I love walking around the park. It's your routine. But when that person says, let's make money out of walking around the park, when they treat that to something that they have to be useful, that thing becomes something that they don't love anymore. But South Koreans really need this philosophy because most of them treat themselves as tools. They say, hey, I have this amount of certificate. Hey, my grade is 95. I'm a good student. But they never talk about what they love. They never talk about what their dream is. This is basically becoming a tool. It's not a human. It's basically a factory printed citizen just to do more work, right? I think this is why South Koreans have a low birth rate. It's just too depressing to focus your life on making more money and getting proof that you are a good worker and being praised that you have 10 certificates, 100 on your math test. But they never talk about, my favorite moment in life is walking around the lake listening to music. My favorite moment in life is walking my dog or giving food to my cat or saving other people's. And I think underlying the low birth rate of South Korea, the root of the problem is this. South Koreans lack philosophy. They're always you have to at least make 6 figures when you're about 30 years old. Well then, are the people who doesn't make that amount of money at age 30, are they losers? No. They're perfectly fine. They're all perfectly fine human beings. You know what I mean? If we start to put a guideline that is measurable, there's always a winner and a loser. But we can't do that to humans. I mean, to protect your self-esteem and other people's self-esteem, we should always talk about a value that is not comparable. The values that is always measurable only by you. For example, my love towards, let's say, running around the lake, listening to music, that's what I love. I cannot tell you how much I love it because it's a value only inside me. Of course, somebody maybe has the same hobby or the same thing, maybe you might love to walk around the lake listening to your favorite music. But the music's gonna be different, the pace of walking is gonna be different, the feeling when you approach the water is gonna be different. Everything is just personal. And that is dignity. When a value is not convertible to another value, let's say money or gold, time, that is dignity. South Koreans need this. They don't have dignity. They need to focus on the present, right now, what they love. And they need to develop more and learn who they are. Oh, I didn't know, but I liked plants, like this. Oh, I didn't know, but I liked piano music. They need to learn more about themselves and just live in right now, trying to just fill their life with more things that they love. And that brings up happiness. And that will make your life more happier. Maybe eventually, they will have a kid, and maybe they'll say, oh, I should raise my kid like me. So maybe they'll say, son, it could be like David number 2. David, it's okay to get a 0 score on math, or maybe 10, like 20. What matters is you enjoy math. What matters is you had a fun time taking the test. What matters is you have a goal. It doesn't need to be math or whatever, but what matters is you have something that you're passionate about. And if you're not, I'll help you finding it. So I think when South Koreans finally focus on the dignity part of life, or what makes us human part, I think they will be hugging their child when they come back with a low score, saying it's okay. What matters is not giving up and trying out what you love and trying to find out what you love. If you don't like math, that's totally fine. What matters is you tried taking the math test and figured out that maybe it's not your thing. But that doesn't make you a lesser person. It makes you a person, actually a better person, because you tried to find what you love in your life. So +1 try. I think that's what we need in South Korea. And I think that's why the birth rate is going down. And the reason why, other successful countries like Finland or like rich countries, the reason why their birth rates are going down is because social media shows even richer people. There's always a richer people than you. There's always someone richer. When you see that on the social media, your dignity part turns off and you're like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I need more money. Maybe I need this. Maybe I need a bigger chest, a wider shoulder, a better looking face. Your dignity part in your brain turns off suddenly when you look at other successful people's or other, social media. That's why social media is bad for you, because your dignity part of your philosophy suddenly turns off, because it's really hard to resist that. It's really hard to resist. That's a different person from me, so I should not start comparing. It's really hard to do this. Even I look at social media, and think like, oh, I want to be like him. It just happens naturally. It's really hard to resist that. But we have to train ourselves not to compare to others and just focus on yourself and your life, and just, you get what I'm saying. Yeah. So anyways, I hope you liked it, and I hope you have a good day, and I hope you find what you love, and I hope you practice and actually do fill your life with all the stuff that you love. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.